Attorney is a series I've known for about 2 years. I still remember the day I went to the App Store and downloaded the original trilogy. I remember when I opened the app and made my first objection. Ever since then, I bought the other games also on iOS and had a blast playing through them. From the beginnings that were Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney to the amazing conclusion that was Trials and Tribulations, this series quickly became one of my favorites. I then went and bought Dual Destinies, also in iOS, and had an absolute blast with it. Following that were Apollo Justice, Ace Attorney Investigations, and Ace Attorney Investigations 2, the fan translations, which I thought were also amazing games compared to the other games I had already played, even if the protagonist was different. Then, holy shit, DGS bro got announced, and then after a year we still don't have any news on localization. Please localize Capcom. And then, after some time, I decided to buy Professor Layton vs. Ace Attorney, and it was also cool as heck. Point I'm trying to make is that this series is good, like really good. I just love every single bit of it. From Mo the Clown to the entirety of Investigations 2, the series has never disappointed me with something I would call bad. That being said, you probably already saw the title of the video and you want me to stop my rambling. The point of this rambling is for me to say that I don't hate any of these cases. They are all great in a unique way, but some are more flawed than others. It was painful for me to put them in a set order, but somehow I managed it. And I want to specify that this list is my opinion, so please understand that not everyone has the same opinions, because apparently you're not allowed to have an opinion on the internet anymore. So in short, I don't think any of these cases sucks balls, but it's more like some are better than others. So without further delay, here is my list of the top 38 Ace Attorney cases, in my opinion. Yokai! What is even a yokai? The monster's turnabout lands last place on this list, mostly because of this jackass. Floyd Lavelle has to be one of the worst villains in the whole series, and I really mean it. Not only does he imitate the fabulous Red White and fails miserably at it, he has no motive. Why? Why did you kill the older man? You could have just waltzed in and taken the ingot, but no! Also, why the hell do you have it advertised right on TV and not sell your freaking product? Just please, I need to know why, dude. I hate you. The case centers around the mystery of the yokai Tengmatoru and the merger between two little towns, Tengmatao and Nine-Tails-Vale. Apollo and Trucy decide to take a stroll through the second one because Trucy has a weird friend she wants to present to Apollo. There are also yokais literally everywhere. A yokai means monster in Japanese, in case you didn't know. The game tries really hard to make you accept all of this yokai shenaniganery, but I didn't buy it. This case just feels so surreal and just doesn't meet my expectations of an Ace Attorney case. Not even a filler one! The characters aren't that special either. The Tenement families, while really charming, are just overly exaggerated and just bland in my opinion. Damien, I don't know, it's just too serious, and I mean too serious. He never emotes happiness or any other emotion, but it's great that he's a really caring father, and also the amazing Tails, which, by the way, is a great twist in the story. Jinxie is also another bland character to talk about. Her fear of yokai is really weird, and the whole she transforming into a yokai is just absurd. The only good exclusive character in the episode must be Phineas Filch. This little living raccoon is great comic relief for the whole chapter. And who could forget such classics as the backside of the cat? Yeah, I mean the other way around. That always cracks me up. In this case, we are also introduced to our new prosecutor, Simon Blackwell, and they do a really good job by making him as intimidating as possible. Especially when he breaks his chains for the first time. Oh boy, was I really scared about that. We are also treated with our hero of justice, Bobby Fulbright. He is good, I guess. He seems like a detective with a sense of justice, and that's it really. He has some standout moments like when he electrocutes Prosecutor Blackwell, and all of his animations are just so over the top. It's really hilarious for me. The pacing of the case is good for a second case, even if it drags on for a little bit too much in my opinion, in some parts. The case gets its job done as a filler, and a sub-bar filler, a really filler. Leaving behind the message that any fear you got is just another yokai in your mind. Don't you worry about those fears, people. Also, sorry developers, this must have been like really hard to translate and stuff because of all the yokai, but didn't really pay off, did it? Didn't really. I hope you're happy with it. Turnabout Sisters matters to the whole series. Really, it does. Your mentor is dead, and it's probably the first shock moment you will experience in the whole series. Your job is to defend poor little Maya, and the prosecution this time is a heartless asshole. Don't you dare pull the new autopsy. Don't you shit, what the hell? Freaking. You already know the villain is the fabulous one in the pink suit, and you get glimpses of him during the first day of investigations. You gather all the things you need, and then comes the trial. This trial is the epitome of bluffing to win. You pin the crime of an innocent boobed woman. Well, it depends on your answer really, and you somehow manage to squirm out of the bellboy the fact that there was a man along with Miss May. End of trial! Then the investigation gives you more leads on this red-white guy, and you learn about something called DL6. You meet the true killer, and then you present him incriminating evidence, pointing his guilt. What the fuck? He punches you out of his office and sends you to jail. Trial time! The court lets you represent yourself cause of reasons, and you disprove some shit and then you lose. But wait! Mia comes out of nowhere and blackmails White to confess. And it kinda ends there. The biggest flaw of this case is probably how quick you break down White. He goes down really quickly for someone who has a lot of power over literally everyone, and he's not threatening at all, even if the game tries to make him look as badass as possible. This is also the case that introduced what is commonly known as Deus Ex Mia, which means that Mia's going to come to save you multiple times in the future. I really appreciate it, but I cannot grieve my mentor's death when he comes back time and time again. That's one thing that Dual Destinies did good, at least. The other characters exclusive to this case are also very stale. The bellboy is, well, a bellboy, one-dimensional and pretty much as stereotypical as you would expect. And Miss May is just boobs. Devilish boobs at that. Her transformation is creepy and I don't like her attitude. I also must say that I don't like innuendo type of characters, and her whole thing is based around that. Then there is Grossberg, and his role here is better than the one in Turnabout Memories. At least he doesn't mention his hemorrhoids. Also, am I the only one who feels that Phoenix isn't as sad as he should be over Mia's death? He seems more interested in finding her killer and avenging her, but that's just how I view it. Also, we haven't touched on Maya yet. She's the one who probably suffered the most of the situation, and the game really lets you know that. If you present her cell phone, the dialogue given is really heartwarming. And she becomes your assistant in later cases and later games. And I could save her role in the whole series for another video. She does a great job and gives you smiles all throughout this case, and I really like her. I'll talk more about her in later entries, so don't worry about that. In the end, Turnabout Sisters makes a great atmosphere and setup for what comes next in the series, but the lack of interesting characters brings it down to second to last place on the list. Here is a case that a lot of people give a lot of flack. The Lost Turnabout is the second tutorial case of the series, and it sure does get its job done as a tutorial case. We get to see the billing at the beginning of the case, similar to the last two entries, and he hits us with a extinguisher so that we get knocked down. Unfortunately for us, Phoenix gets amnesia, and we get the feeling that we are screwed. The whole amnesiac trope used in the case, and just how forced it feels, is what turned most people down with this case. I personally feel it works well to set up as a tutorial, and I also think it's pretty genius, even if overused in the media. It's pretty similar to the first Turnabout because the only witness and case-exclusive character is the killer, and they are both shown at the intro. Richard Wellington is a weird fellow to talk about. The game wants you to know that he's crazy and nuts, and oh boy did they succeed at doing that. His motive is what is most striking about him. He only killed out of sheer paranoia that the officer Dustin Prince... Well, he killed because he thought Mr. Prince checked his phone, which had the phone numbers of the bros of a corn artist group. Justice for All is a game filled with sympathetic killers, and Wellington does great for one who killed because of a little detail. Just if only Officer Prince weren't wearing his war clothes, everything would have been just fine. That is enough reason for me to like this case. The one accused and set up by this evil man is one Maggie Bird. She is pretty bland in this case and serves as a tutorial for a newcomer in the series. However, she gets better in later games, I bet you that. You also get to meet Mr. Payne again. The Pain! And there is also that standout moment that everyone remembers. Mr. Wellington loves big large bananas. The case is this low on the list mostly because of his forgettableness. There is nothing really interesting to get you to replay the case because it's pretty clear cut, and because of that Babel's contradiction. For someone who doesn't know a crap about baseball, I get stuck in that testimony until I finally gave up and searched on the internet. Lost Turnabout is just lost potential. Oh no, we've got Ace Attorney in space! Oh boy, now we're starting to get to the good stuff. Cosmic Turnabout is the first case on this list that I actually love. I love all of the next cases because they are just so cool. I only like the ones before this one, but here is where it gets good. The Cosmic Turnabout takes place in the space station, and here the plot revolves around the explosion of sun bombs and the death of a guy. What a better job to assign Phoenix and his fellows. Since the dead boy was Apollo's friend, we get to play as him for a final time. This setting is really interesting, and I must say it was really cool to explore the whole space station. This case's memorability comes mostly from its characters. Yuri Cosmos is one of my personal favorites in Dual Destinies. Mr. Old Man Scooter looks at first like an egotistical boss who doesn't care about anything but his merits. But you eventually learn that his actions in this case were led by his concern over his two men on the mission, Clay Terran and Solomon Starbuck. Also, the whole episode is themed around space, which is a thing I absolutely love. Another character we've got is Space Boy Terran, which is revealed to be Apollo's best friend. At my first playthrough I didn't give it too much thought, but on the consequent ones, I found their relationship really charming, and it's just so sad to think about it. I commonly see on the internet many people who say he was a great character and that he didn't have to die. I don't know if they're jokes, but I don't see what greatness he has in his character. Yeah, he was Apollo's friend and created the I'm fine thing we all love, but his character wasn't that deep. Moving on to Solomon Soul Starbuck, he is a mixed bag with me. He goes from Apollo just fucking give up to yeah, give it all you got, Apollo, which is really uncomforting and just plain strange. Also, I know for sure that one day on the Crabcom offices they were just like, why not make an astronaut of freedom space? And base Soul around just that and just that concept. We also got Ponko and Clunko in this case. Two little robots, one very peppy and the other one who always gets abused by Aura Blackwell. They're good for learning about the Space Hunter, especially Ponko, but we'll talk more about them later. We also get to see a bit, but just a bit, of Simon's big sis, Aura Blackwell, whose only purpose for this case is to be a witness who will end our case, because all cases need one of those. We will also discuss her later, but you know, this is also the last case where we can actually control Apollo, who for some reason has an edgy bandage on his face. For some reason, the game cuts the case in two parts, an Apollo part and then a Phoenix part, which I thought was atrocious. I know Clay was Apollo's friend and all, but it just didn't felt right. And after hearing how much I love this case, here we start with the ranting. I must say, this case is pretty forgettable, even more than Lost Turnabout in my opinion. I didn't remember what even happened in the case before replaying it. The reason for its forgettableness, it's probably because this one is just a lead to the next one. It just loses all of its uniqueness as a case just because of that reason. That's the main reason of its place in this list. Crabcom should have just combined the last two cases, but for some reason they didn't. And I just feel it's stupid. And now you also shouldn't forget to say that this case contributes to the big mess of a timeline that Dual Destinies has. The other reason why it's so low, it's because we don't expose the true killer. It's a really minor nitpick, but I just don't feel like it's a good Ace Attorney case if you don't get to see how the killer squirms. We don't even know who killed the guy until the next case, and it just feels really weird. And that also combines with the whole this case is a lead into this case, but I really think that's a stupid idea. Overall, the Cosmic Turnabout had just great potential to be a great case with great characters. But as a standalone case, it just doesn't have the appeal or impact other cases have. Oh boy, we're getting to Professor Layton versus Wright. First, I want to state that this game is pretty underrated. It's not as bad as people claim it to be, and its first case doesn't leave you with much disappointment. English Turnabout is a fresh opening to the crossover. The first thing it does right is filling you with nostalgia, with orchestrated versions of the classic melodies of the first game. They even give you a British paint for bloody God's sake, in the form of filch. They even go beyond what you would expect, and they even give you the freaking blue badger. Haven't played this game after all the other ones. I was also treated with 3D Maya, and also 3D Phoenix. Now onto the actual case. The case this time is the first one to focus on an assault and theft, which is welcome change. The one that is at your defense is this weird hypnotized girl called Spella Cantabella. Nothing suspicious about her. And apparently she also wants to be charged guilty, according to her teacher, Miss Docklow. It's not suspicious at all, too. The build-up to the case is almost too perfect, but the end result is really lacking. Like, who even talked to Libby al dente? Apparently, according to the Ace Attorney wiki, it was Darklaw? The game doesn't tell you that, does it? I don't know, it's pretty confusing, and that's why this case is so low on the list. And also the characters. They are really lacking. If we don't count Flinch or the English Judge, which are basically two clones of our already established characters, we are left with only two exclusive characters, Olivia al dente and Johnny Smiles. Johnny is just a joke. He doesn't even do his job right. If supposedly Docklow or whoever was the one who talked al dente, then why didn't he see her? I won't call plot hole or anything, but I just say this guy is pretty incompetent. Save your chocolates, cause soon you'll be eating instant noodles, pal. Al dente, however, is a good character. Like, just put yourself in her situation. If you were hit and there was only one person who could have done it, what would you do? Would you blame it on a ghost nobody saw? No. Logic tells you that the other person was the one who done it. And she got into a lot of trouble because of that little person who has to disturb her plans. With a great atmosphere and an amazing build-up for what will come next, but also having really lackluster characters, English Turnabout lands this place on the list. You know, just because Ace Attorney needed more explosions. Don't get me wrong, I actually really like Dual Destinies. This case intro is just really good. In Turnabout Countdown, we get a taste of the cutscenes DD has to over, and we have terrorists bombing our court. Then we get to the actual game. Edgy Apollo is going to be the defense until he paints because of his wounds. And now we get to meet the new protagonist in the series, Miss Emoji herself, Athena Sykes. I wouldn't gush about her right now, but keep in mind she's one of my favorite characters, even though her reception in the fandom was mostly mixed. Our defendant is our childhood friend, Juniper Woods. I'll just throw this out right now. She's bland. She's really bland. She's bland as shit. Her gimmick as a character is the whole coffin shenanigans, and besides that, in the other cases, she doesn't even get so much better. I also don't ship her with Apollo if that concerns you. Again, as in any other tutorial case, we have a killer made a witness. His name is Detonate. Ted is all about bombs and explosions and the latest Apple Watch. Again, no other personality other than that, but the game tries you to make you feel bad about him after breaking him down. Why would I feel bad about the guy who blew up a courtroom? I mean, I should thank him because he made the last case have a cuter and more cool background. But other than that, there's nothing else going for him. The case is also divided in 2 days, which I thought was actually pretty smart. Making it so that Apollo gets hurt adds to the sentimental value you have going for the case. And it also adds a little pressure because trials are only 3 days long. even though that hasn't really been tampered ever since the first game, but whatever. The game also introduces you to the new lawyer superpower, the Mood Matrix. In my opinion, it was a great idea with a great potential, but the lack of penalties made it too easy to deal with. And also my boy Phoenix Wright is back to defend the undefendable. I would go into a really big tangent if I explained my opinion on this, but I think it was a great decision on the developer's part and also on the marketing team's part because, you know, Phoenix makes cash. And we also get a new pain to defeat. And he's a king in the next game. Summing it all up, Turnabout Countdown makes up what its characters lack with the great atmosphere offered and the introduction of the new lawyer and the reintroduction of an old one. Turnabout Airlines is one of those cases with a mixed reception. There are plenty of them throughout the Ace Attorney series and I like them all. I like all of the cases if that wasn't obvious already. Getting to the main point, the investigation games always like to go out and make the crime scene somewhere you wouldn't expect. Airplane's main setting is an airplane, which offers great possibilities for the developer's team to play with. The character who takes advantage of being on the plane is in-flight attendant Meuol. She is part of an international smuggling rig, and her job is to smuggle stuff between countries. This time the smuggled object is a big-ass statue. Interpol agent Akby Hicks went aboard the flight and decided to check the cargo hold, you know, because of reasons, which at the time had no statue. And Miss Meuol panicked and killed him in the spur of the moment. The game succeeds at making you feel really bad for her. Even though she's in a smuggling organization, you can tell by the writing that she truly felt sorry for her actions. The next flight attendant on the list is Rhoda Tenero. Either people like her a lot or don't care about her, much like the case. I really like her. She has a menacing character when you first meet her, but as time passes, she grows onto Edgeworth and starts putting actual faith into him to find the real criminal. She even goes at lengths like lying to her own captain just so you can find the truth. And I do ship her with Edgy because of all those reasons. She cares about you, the player, and also about Edgeworth. She is lovable and has to be one of my favorite characters from the first investigations. One thing I really liked about this case is how it sets up to your encounter with Franziska Bonkarma and Shilong Lang. You hear about 3 elusive investigators from Interpol. The first one is now dead and killed aboard a plane. The second one being your abusive stepsisters, which we already know and love, and the third one who remains a mystery. Until the next case, that is. I really haven't heard many people talking about that, but I think it's a great mystery in the game. And also, who couldn't forget our millionaire Virginian Sink LeBlanc? He is supposed to be a comic relief character, but I don't know, I'm not Crabcom, but he's more of an annoyance than actual comic relief, even though he's funny. The only memorable thing about him is, well, you know, his signature epic fail in logic segment that everyone remembers. And everyone does because it's just so good. The premise for the case is great, and all filled with good characters, a great story, and a good mystery. Where could this case have gone wrong? Well, it goes on for a little bit too long. I love the investigations game, but they usually butcher it up with the length of some of these cases. Even still, it offered a great experience for me, and I never skip it when I replay the investigations game. And what a better segue! We were those just talking about long-winded cases and the investigations zoology. The imprisoned turnabout isn't famously known for dragging out for too long, and people like to nag at it for that. In my opinion, I will accept that it is huge and really long, but its length is justified. It mainly introduces you to the great cast that is going to follow you throughout the game, and the case is filled with great characters and a great mystery. I've also seen the complaint that the billing was too obvious, but I personally didn't figure it out until the game decided to corner me into it. I suspected Dojin, until the bitter end I did. I saw no reason why to suspect anyone else but Dojin. Miss Patrolwoman over here didn't have a motive or anything until it was actually brought up. But still, maybe it was an oversight on my part, I don't know. Imprisoned Turnabout has you acting as the subordinate to Raymond Shields through the majority of the case. Ray here is the defense attorney, and as a subordinate to your job in this case is to defend the accused. Enter Simon Keys, a lovely fellow working for the Barabik Circus. Yeah, you know the one with the clowns and stuff that everyone hates. Yeah, that one. Simon is just... wow, I can't help but feel bad about all that happened to him. He was arrested because they thought he murdered his best friend. We get no indication of him having a family either. It's just so sad to think about him without feeling sorrow. I sure hope he's able to return in later games, because he's just so cute and innocent. One of my top picks from Investigations 2, of course. And also, sorry to pass just by you, Raymond Shields. Ray Shields over here is introduced in this chapter and will accompany you throughout the most of the rest of your journey. He was the apprentice of the late Gregory Edgeworth, and unlike both Edgeworths, he actually has a sense of humor. He has his moments in the game, has a great charisma accompanying him. Well, I haven't even gotten to the premise of the case yet, and we already have two great characters from what I talk about. You remember about the last case of the game, do you? Where you found Lightly Boy was the killer all along. Well, the game tries to take you for a spin to the prison, and what do you know? Knightley is dead. Karma strikes again, bitch! And you get to investigate a prison, and wouldn't you know it, the witnesses you meet are prisoners. And then you wonder, wait, maybe I can meet someone from the last games. Someone cool and awesome I have defeated in the Phoenix games. And the game does not disappoint. You get to meet good old Mr. Didit from the first game. Frank Sawyer is back. He is the same stupid and lovely idiot you know from the first game, with all of his hand shuffling shenanigans and his toupee throwing. I know that this is fan service, but it is good fan service. What is not good fan service in this case is Regina Berry. She's back. Why? Why not Mo? I like Mo. Fight me. But whatever. Let's get back to Sword. It's the only time you get to see a minor culprit reappear, and it's awesome. Hell, he even developed and became a better person. Now he's a Meuol prisoner. Wait. It's just a facade. Whatever, he's fucking saw it! Second prisoner of the list is Jay Yelbert, whose name is like the worst pun ever. Me having played Punch-Out for the Wii just before starting the game, I liked the dude. But after my first replay he got really stale, and I stopped finding him that interesting. One thing to be noted about him is the whole escape plan he had. Just how did the police didn't notice the hole? I will never know, but it was really hilarious how his plan got fooled by his pet polar bear, Rocky. There's this gif I saw a while ago, which explains his plan just too perfectly, and it's just really funny. Prisoner number 3 on the list is legendary former blind assassin Sehun Dojin. Dojin is introduced as someone who you might already know, and a scary and mysterious person. Anubis, his dog, also does a great job at giving him even more presence. The assassin is known around the prison as the supplier. With the help of his intimidation skills, Dojin is able to get all of the things he would ever want from Warden Roland. This way he gained pretty much the monopoly of the whole prison. Everyone was under him. With such control, he was able to literally do everything he wanted. Enter Patrolwoman, the villain of the case. She hated Dogen because all of the distortions he did to her. He hated him for threatening her and her family. She wanted to deal with him and finish him for good. Then our boy Knightley comes in. Unfortunately for him, his correspondent's chess and chisel in the checkerboard seal his fate. Roland decided to heal him because of the fear that he was sent by Dogen and to have Dogen transferred to another prison. Pretty good plan and pretty good sympathetic killer, in my opinion. I truly felt bad for her, and I hate Dogen for corrupting her and being such an ass. Finally, we get to meet our rivals of the game. The best prosecutor, Sebastian the Best, and the servant of the goddess of the law, Justine Courtney. They complement each other very well. While Sebastian is a dumbass and has no logic whatsoever, Justin always can shed light on him and find a sound logic in his mind. They develop really well throughout the game, and as the list continues, you'll see what I mean. Also, their name puns are golden! The best? Justine Courtney? I just love them both. And why is the game low? Other than the longness, is because it introduces too much things to the main plot. This and Case 1 could have easily been one game. This one could be a finale. Hell, even Case 3 could be a finale. Hell, even Case 4 could be one. Investigations 2 is just so good, any case could be a finale. And then again, I love all of the cases following up, so yeah. And then, finally, to wrap things up, the Imprisoned Turnabout is filled with great characters and a great setting, only to be brought down by its length and its contents. Well, here's where part 1 ends. After hearing me bash and discuss the strengths and weaknesses of those first cases, you saw that I talked a lot about the characters. It's mostly because Ace Attorney is mostly about his characters. All of them are filled with charm and are what makes each case unique and memorable. And with that out of the way, thank you guys so much for watching. Go check part 2 over there when it's uploaded. Or maybe check out one of my music videos. They're great. You should check them out. Yeah. You still there? Well, you still there, mate? Well, not anymore!